Graham Field was founded in 1946 in New York City by Samuel Graham Golub and Philip Field. The two entrepreneurs established a medical equipment supply business in a loft on Pearl Street in what is now the Tribeca neighborhood of Lower Manhattan. The company's first product, Medico Paste, a specialized bandage product, debuted in 1947 and remains in the catalog to this day, a testament to the enduring utility of well-designed medical consumables. For nearly 4 decades, the company operated as a respected but modestly sized medical supply distributor, generating approximately $10 million in annual revenues by the mid-1980s. The transformative inflection point arrived in 1986, when Irwin Sellinger and his company, Patient Technology Inc., acquired Graham Field. 2 years later, Patient Technology formally adopted the Graham Field name, becoming Graham Field Health Products Inc. Sellinger, who had entered the healthcare industry with no prior experience in the field, having previously marketed staplers for Swingline Inc., brought an aggressive acquisition-driven growth strategy that would fundamentally reshape the company's trajectory. Between 1996 and 2000, Sellinger orchestrated a series of transformative acquisitions, including Everest and Jennings International Limited, the iconic wheelchair manufacturer, in November 1996, Cushall of America in March 1997, adding pediatric and high-performance adult wheelchairs, and multiple distribution operations, including VC, medical distributors in Puerto Rico, and Bobeck Medical in Dallas. The company also launched the Graham Field Express program, offering same-day and next-day delivery to home healthcare dealers, with facilities in Baltimore, Cleveland, and Bowling Green, Kentucky. The late 1990s also brought significant legal controversy when Sellinger was indicted for securities fraud and conspiracy related to inflating the company's stock value during a merger. He was convicted in 2004 after a 5-week trial and sentenced to 18 months in prison in April 2005, though he continued to run the company pending appeal. Despite this turbulence, the company persevered, reintroducing and strengthening its core product lines. Understanding this history is essential for any product manager at Graham Field because the company's identity is deeply rooted in acquisition-driven growth, brand portfolio management, and a made-in-USA manufacturing ethos that continues to define strategic decisions today. The current leadership, under CEO Ken Spett, who holds a bachelor's degree from Queens College, has steered the company toward a more stable, manufacturing-focused identity. The headquarters relocated from the New York metropolitan area to Atlanta, Georgia, where it currently resides at 2935 Northeast Parkway, Atlanta, Georgia, 30360. This relocation positioned the company within one of the fastest-growing healthcare and logistics corridors in the southeastern United States, providing access to a robust labor pool, favorable tax environments, and proximity to major distribution networks, including the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, the world's busiest airport, and the Norfolk Southern and CSX rail networks that facilitate efficient coast-to-coast freight movement. GF Health Products, Inc. operates under the trade name Graham Field and is structured as a privately held, American-owned and operated medical device manufacturing and distribution company. As of the most recent publicly available data from 2025, the company employs approximately 211 people across 3 continents, North America, Asia, and Africa, though the vast majority of its workforce is concentrated in the United States across its manufacturing and distribution facilities. The executive leadership team is headed by Ken Spett, who serves as both president and chief executive officer. Spett has been instrumental in driving the company's Made in USA strategic initiative and its acquisition-driven growth model. The C-suite includes a chief information officer and a chief financial officer, along with a senior vice president of quality, regulatory, and risk management, a position held by Sherry L. Antoniazzi, who led the company's successful ISO 13485:2016 and MDSAP certification efforts. The organizational structure beneath the C-suite is divided into functional verticals that include engineering and product development, manufacturing operations, quality and regulatory affairs, sales, and marketing, further segmented by market channel, home care, long-term care, acute care and primary care, supply chain and logistics, finance and accounting, information technology, and human resources. For a product manager, the most critical interfaces are with engineering, who design and iterate on physical products, quality and regulatory, who ensure compliance with FDA, ISO, and international standards, sales and marketing, who provide voice of customer feedback and set revenue targets, and manufacturing, who determine production feasibility, cost structures, and capacity constraints. The company describes itself as having an easygoing yet hardworking environment, and employee reviews confirm a culture that values work-life balance and a casual atmosphere, though some reviews note that change can be slow, investment in employee development is limited, and compensation may lag behind larger competitors. The company offers standard benefits including health insurance, dental, vision, 401k, and paid holidays. Understanding the relatively flat organizational structure, approximately 211 employees versus competitors like Invacare or Medline who employ thousands, is critical because it means that a product manager at Graham Field wears many hats. You are not siloed into a narrow functional lane. You will interact directly with manufacturing floor personnel, participate in quality audits, attend trade shows, manage vendor relationships, and contribute to strategic planning in ways that would be distributed across multiple roles at a larger organization. This lean structure is both the company's greatest operational advantage and its most significant constraint. It accelerates decision-making but demands cross-functional fluency from every member of the team. Graham Field's corporate headquarters is located at 2935 Northeast Parkway in the Peachtree Corners/Norcross area of unincorporated Gwinnett County, just northeast of Atlanta, Georgia. This location, also designated as 1 Graham Fieldway, Atlanta, Georgia 30304, places the company within the I-85 technology corridor, a stretch of metro Atlanta that has become a significant hub for medical device companies, logistics operations, and healthcare technology firms. The Doraville, Georgia manufacturing and distribution facility is located nearby, making it possible for corporate staff, including product managers, to walk between the office and the production floor within minutes. This proximity to manufacturing is a distinctive advantage that many medical device PMs at larger companies do not enjoy. It means you can observe production runs in real time, inspect prototypes on the factory floor, and troubleshoot quality issues with direct visual and tactile access to the product. Atlanta's position as a logistics hub cannot be overstated for a durable medical equipment company. Hartsfield-Jackson. Atlanta International Airport provides direct cargo flights to every major domestic and international market. The city sits at the intersection of 3 major interstate highways, I-75, I-85, and I-20, creating a ground freight network that can reach 80% of the U.S. population within a 2-day truck delivery window. For Graham Field, which operates distribution centers in Edison, New Jersey, Hazelwood, Missouri, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and Pico Rivera, California, the Atlanta headquarters serves as the logistical command center coordinating nationwide fulfillment. Georgia also offers favorable business conditions, no state inventory tax on goods stored in distribution centers, competitive corporate tax rates, a right-to-work employment environment, and access to the Georgia Centers of Innovation, which provides state-funded support for manufacturing and logistics companies. The Atlanta metro area's healthcare ecosystem includes the CDC headquarters, Emory University's Medical Research Complex, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and a dense network of group purchasing organizations, GPOs, and integrated delivery networks, IDNs, that represent Graham Field's institutional customer base. As a product manager, understanding the geographic context is not mere trivia. It directly informs decisions about shipping costs, lead times, labor availability, and proximity to key accounts and trade show venues. The annual Leading Age Conference, MedTrade, and GSASC/SCASCA conferences, all of which Graham Field regularly exhibits at, frequently rotate through Atlanta in the southeast, making the headquarters location strategically valuable for relationship building with long-term care and home care buyers. Graham Field operates a classic house of brands strategy, where the parent company, GF Health Products, Inc., owns and manages a portfolio of distinct market-facing brands, each with its own heritage, product focus, and customer association. This is fundamentally different from a branded house model, like Apple, where every product carries the parent brand, and is more analogous to Procter & Gamble's approach, where Tide, Pampers, and Gillette each have independent brand equity. For a product manager, understanding each brand's positioning, history, and market segment is foundational to every decision you will make. Everest and Jennings is the flagship wheelchair brand, one of the most recognized names in mobility equipment globally. Acquired in 1996, E&J offers both manual and powered wheelchairs, transport chairs, and wheelchair accessories. The brand traces its origins to the 1930s and pioneered the modern folding wheelchair. Lumex is the broadest brand in the portfolio, encompassing patient aids, healthcare seating, clinical care recliners, walkers, hospital beds, including the Patriot and Patriot LX home care beds, overbed tables, and patient lifts. Lumex is the brand most often associated with the long-term care and home care markets. Basic American Medical Products, also historically associated with Simmons Healthcare, is one of the world's largest healthcare bed manufacturers, producing subacute care and extended care beds at the Fond du Lac, Wisconsin facility using advanced manufacturing systems, including computer-controlled laser welding, robotic assembly, and automated coating lines. Housted specializes in surgical stretchers, procedure chairs, exam room furnishings, and ophthalmology platforms, targeting the acute care and ambulatory surgical center markets. The Housted brand is Graham Field's primary entry point into the operating room, PACU, post-anesthesia care unit, and exam room environments. John Bunn produces respiratory products, including nebulizers, oxygen delivery systems, and related accessories. A critical product line, given the aging population's increasing incidence of COPD, sleep apnea, and other respiratory conditions. Labtron manufactures diagnostic equipment including stethoscopes, otoscope sets, and blood pressure monitors, serving the primary care and clinical exam room markets. Grafco offers a wide variety of medical and surgical products ranging from bandages to microscopes to bariatric footstools and stainless steel waste receptacles. Essentially, the consumable and accessory catalog that fills gaps in clinical and exam room settings. Gendron, acquired in 2020, is the bariatric medical equipment brand producing heavy-duty wheelchairs, beds, and stretchers rated for patients weighing 500 pounds or more. Gendron's heritage dates to 1871, making it one of the oldest names in the portfolio. Intensa produces medical and laboratory furniture, targeting laboratory environments and specialized clinical settings. TransferMaster, acquired in 2024, manufactures high-low adjustable beds for the rehabilitation and active aging markets, operating under both the TransferMaster and Supernal brand names. Lumiscope is the consumer diagnostics brand, offering blood pressure monitors, pulse oximeters, and other home health monitoring devices sold through retail and direct-to-consumer channels. Every product decision, pricing strategy, distribution channel selection, and marketing message at Gramfield is filtered through the lens of 4 distinct market segments: home care, long-term care, LTC, acute care, and primary care. These are not merely demographic categories. They represent fundamentally different purchasing environments, regulatory contexts, reimbursement structures, and end-user needs. A product manager must understand each segment's unique dynamics as deeply as a physician understands anatomy. The home care segment encompasses products used by patients in their own residences, typically prescribed by a physician and supplied through durable medical equipment, DME, dealers, and home health agencies. Key products include home care beds, the Lumex Patriot LX, manual wheelchairs, walkers, bathroom safety products, respiratory equipment, and consumer diagnostic devices. The home care buyer is often a DME dealer who purchases from Gramfield through distribution and then bills Medicare Part B, Medicaid, or private insurance for reimbursement. The home care market is profoundly shaped by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, competitive bidding program, which has driven relentless downward pressure on reimbursement rates and forced manufacturers to compete on cost and use, a metric that combines purchase price, maintenance costs, delivery, and setup labor, and product lifespan. When Gramfield says the Patriot LX has one of the lowest lifetime cost in use in the industry, they are speaking the language of home care dealers who must survive on razor-thin margins. The long-term care segment includes skilled nursing facilities, assisted living communities, continuing care retirement communities, CCRCs, and memory care units. Products sold into this segment: extended care beds, Basic American, clinical care recliners, Lumex, bariatric equipment, Gendron, patient lifts, and heavy-duty wheelchairs must withstand continuous multi-shift use by rotating staff with varying levels of training. Durability, ease of cleaning, infection control compatibility, and caregiver ergonomics are paramount design considerations. Purchasing in LTC is often managed by corporate procurement teams at large chains, Brookdale, HCR, ManorCare, Genesis Healthcare, and funneled through group purchasing organizations, GPOs, like Vizient, Premier, and HealthTrust. The acute care segment targets hospitals, ambulatory surgical centers, ASCs, and outpatient clinics. Housed stretchers, ophthalmology platforms, and intensive medical furniture are the primary offerings. Acute care purchasing is driven by capital equipment budgets, clinical outcome data, infection control certifications, and compatibility with existing hospital infrastructure, bed management systems, nurse call integration, electronic health record triggers. The primary care segment serves physician offices, urgent care clinics, and outpatient examination rooms, Labtron diagnostic equipment, Grafco exam room supplies, and Housted exam room furnishings. Target this segment. Purchasing is often done by office managers with limited procurement expertise, creating opportunities for bundled solutions and catalog-based selling. Gramfield generates approximately $75 million in annual revenue as of 2025, positioning it as a mid-market player in the global DME industry, larger than niche specialists, but significantly smaller than giants like Medline Industries, estimated at over $17 billion in revenue, Invacare, or Stryker. This revenue scale has profound implications for how the product manager approaches pricing, cost management, and competitive positioning. The company's revenue is generated through a multi-tier distribution model. Gramfield sells primarily through distributors and dealers rather than direct to end users. In the home care channel, this means DME dealers and home health agencies purchase products at wholesale prices, then bill insurance carriers or sell cash pay to patients at retail. In the institutional channels, LTC and acute care, products flow through group purchasing organizations, GPOs, and large-scale distributors like McKesson Medical Surgical, Medline, or Cardinal Health. The GPO model is particularly important. GPOs negotiate volume-based contracts on behalf of member hospitals and nursing facilities, and manufacturers who win GPO contracts gain access to thousands of purchasing accounts simultaneously. However, GPO pricing is typically aggressive, requiring manufacturers to offer significant volume discounts. The product manager must understand the full cost stack of every product: raw materials, steel, aluminum, foam, upholstery fabric, electronics, fasteners, manufacturing labor, overhead allocation, quality assurance and testing, packaging, freight, warranty reserves, and regulatory compliance costs. For a product like the basic American Zenith 7200 extended care bed, the cost stack includes steel tubing processed through fiber optic laser cutting, robotic welding, automated powder coating, foam mattress procurement, motor and actuator assemblies, wiring harnesses, and final quality inspection. Each of these inputs is subject to commodity price fluctuations, tariff exposure, particularly on steel and imported electronic components, and labor market dynamics. Pricing must account for competitive parity. What does an equivalent Invacare or Drive DeVilbiss bed cost at the GPO contract level? Margin targets. Gramfield, as a privately held company, has greater flexibility in margin management than publicly traded competitors who must satisfy quarterly earnings expectations. And reimbursement realities. What will CMS actually pay for this product under current HCPCS coding? The HCPCS, Healthcare Common Procedure Coding System, code assigned to a product determines its Medicare reimbursement level, and a product manager must understand how to position products within favorable HCPCS categories. For example, a semi-electric home care bed coded under HCPCS E0260 has a different reimbursement rate than a full electric bed under E0265, and the cost of adding a second motor to enable full electric functionality must be weighed against the incremental reimbursement it unlocks. The Made in USA strategic initiative is not a marketing slogan at Gramfield. It is a core strategic pillar that directly shapes product development, acquisition strategy, pricing power, and competitive differentiation. Under Ken Spett's leadership, the company has systematically expanded domestic manufacturing capacity through both organic investment and acquisitions. The company operates wholly owned manufacturing facilities in 4 U.S. locations: Doraville, Georgia, medical upholstery, assembly and distribution; Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, steel fabrication, bed manufacturing, laser welding, robotic assembly and powder coating; Warwick, Rhode Island, manufacturing operations; and High Point, North Carolina, manufacturing operations. The investment in advanced manufacturing technology is substantial. The Fond du Lac facility features a bidimensional fiber optic laser cutting system capable of processing steel tubing and sheet metal with sub-millimeter precision, computer-controlled robotic welding cells that deliver consistent weld quality across thousands of identical joints per day, and an upgraded automated coating line that applies durable powder coat finishes resistant to institutional cleaning chemicals and infection control protocols. The strategic rationale for Made in USA manufacturing extends far beyond patriotic branding. First, domestic manufacturing dramatically reduces lead times. When a long-term care facility needs replacement beds urgently, as frequently happens during census surges, facility renovations, or post-inspection remediation, Gramfield can deliver from domestic inventory in days rather than the weeks or months required for ocean freight from Asian factories. Second, domestic manufacturing provides insulation from tariff volatility. The Department of Commerce has been actively investigating anti-dumping duties on imported foam mattresses from multiple countries, including Bosnia, Bulgaria, Burma, India, Italy, Kosovo, Mexico, Philippines, Poland, Slovenia, Spain, and Taiwan. These duties can impose double-digit percentage surcharges on imported goods, fundamentally disrupting the cost structures of competitors who rely on overseas production. Third, domestic manufacturing supports the company's ISO 13485:2016 and MDSAP certifications by keeping quality management systems under direct corporate control rather than relying on third-party contract manufacturers in jurisdictions with varying regulatory enforcement. Fourth, Buy American preferences in government procurement, federal, state, and VA hospital systems create a significant addressable market segment that is only accessible to domestically manufactured products. For the product manager, the Made in USA initiative means that product development decisions must be made with manufacturing feasibility at the 4 domestic plants as a primary constraint. You cannot design a product that requires injection molded polycarbonate housings if none of the 4 facilities have injection molding capability. You would need to either invest in the equipment, outsource that component, creating a hybrid domestic/imported supply chain, or redesign using materials and processes available in-house. The U.S. durable medical equipment market was valued at approximately $63 billion in 2023 and is projected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 5 to 7% through 2030, driven by the aging baby boomer population, rising prevalence of chronic conditions including diabetes, COPD, and cardiovascular disease, and increasing patient preference for home-based care over institutional settings. Within this market, Graham-Field competes against a tiered landscape of competitors that ranges from massive diversified medical device corporations to specialized niche manufacturers. The top tier includes companies like Medline Industries, the largest privately held medical device company in the U.S., with revenues exceeding $17 billion and a product catalog of over 350,000 items. Stryker, a publicly traded corporation with $20 billion in revenue and dominant positions in surgical equipment and hospital beds through its Hillrom acquisition, and Baxter International, which acquired Hillrom Holdings and its iconic hospital bed portfolio. The mid-tier includes Graham-Field's most direct competitors, Invacare Corporation, historically the world's largest manufacturer of wheelchairs and home medical products, Drive DeVilbiss Healthcare, a broadline DME competitor with aggressive pricing, Sunrise Medical, a global wheelchair specialist, and Permobil, a premium-powered wheelchair manufacturer. In the bed segment specifically, Graham-Field competes against Jorns Healthcare, Arjo, formerly Arjo Huntley, and the legacy Hillrom/Baxter institutional bed portfolio. In respiratory products, John Bunn competes against Care, formerly Chart Industries, Inogen, and ResMed. In bariatric equipment, Gendron competes against Sizewise and Broda. Graham-Field's competitive positioning is distinctive. The company occupies a mid-market sweet spot where it offers broader product breadth than niche specialists. A single vendor can supply beds, wheelchairs, stretchers, respiratory products, and exam room furnishings from one source, while maintaining more competitive pricing than the premium players. The made-in-USA manufacturing base provides differentiation on lead time and tariff exposure. The ISO 13485 and MDSAP certifications provide quality credibility. The key competitive vulnerability is scale. With approximately $75 million in revenue and 211 employees, Graham-Field lacks the R&D budgets, marketing spend, and sales force depth of its larger competitors. This makes the product manager's role even more critical. Every product decision must be surgically precise because the company cannot afford the luxury of failed launches or market mispositioning that a Medline or Stryker can absorb. Based on historical job listings, LinkedIn postings, and the company's stated priorities in press releases and trade show presentations, the product manager role at Graham-Field is a hybrid position that combines classical product management, market analysis, roadmap development, pricing strategy, competitive intelligence, with operational responsibilities that are more typical of a product owner or even a project manager in a lean manufacturing environment. The company has posted both product manager and associate product manager positions out of its Atlanta headquarters, indicating a tiered career path within the function. The core expectations can be decoded from multiple signals. First, the company emphasizes product lifecycle management across a portfolio of physical goods, not software or digital products. This means the PM must be comfortable with bill of materials management, engineering change orders, tooling decisions, supplier qualification, and manufacturing validation, concepts that are foreign to most tech industry PMs. Second, the company's growth strategy is acquisition-driven, which means a PM may be asked to integrate newly acquired product lines, as happened with TransferMaster in 2024 and Gendron in 2020, into the existing portfolio, rationalizing SKUs, harmonizing branding, identifying cross-selling opportunities, and migrating manufacturing to domestic facilities. Third, the Made in USA initiative requires the PM to work closely with manufacturing engineering to ensure that new product designs are optimized for the specific capabilities of the 4 domestic factories. Fourth, the company serves 4 distinct market segments with different buying behaviors, regulatory requirements, and competitive dynamics, requiring the PM to develop segment-specific go-to-market strategies rather than a one-size-fits-all approach. Fifth, the company's ISO 13485 and MDSAP certifications impose rigorous documentation requirements on every product change. A design modification that might take a consumer product's PM a week to implement can take months in a medical device environment due to design history, file documentation, risk analysis updates, verification and validation testing, and regulatory notification requirements. The ideal candidate, based on these signals, is someone who can bridge the gap between business strategy and manufacturing reality. Someone who can stand in a conference room and present a 3-year product roadmap to the CEO, then walk to the factory floor and discuss weld fixture tolerances with a production engineer. The company values practical, hands-on experience over theoretical credentials, though a bachelor's or master's degree in a healthcare, business, or engineering discipline is expected. The daily and weekly rhythm of a product manager at Gramfield is structured around a recurring set of activities that balance strategic planning with operational execution. Based on industry benchmarks for mid-market medical device manufacturers, typical employee reviews describing the work environment and the company's known organizational structure, a representative week unfolds as follows. Monday typically begins with a cross-functional stand-up or weekly planning meeting involving the PM, engineering leads, quality representatives, and sales leadership. This meeting reviews the status of active product development projects, addresses any quality issues that emerged over the previous week, customer complaints, field returns, warranty claims, and aligns priorities for the coming week. The PM is expected to come prepared with updated project timelines, any market intelligence gathered from trade publications, competitor announcements, or customer feedback. Tuesday and Wednesday are often dedicated to the core analytical and strategic work of the role, reviewing sales data by SKU and channel to identify trends, analyzing competitive pricing movements, drafting product requirements, documents, PRDs, for new products or product modifications, and conducting cost analysis for proposed engineering changes. A significant portion of midweek time is spent managing the product information pipeline, ensuring that marketing collateral, catalog specifications, website product pages, and distributor-facing materials are accurate and current across all 50,000 plus SKUs in the Gramfield catalog. This is a deceptively labor-intensive task in a company with this many products and brands. Thursday might involve a visit to the Doraville manufacturing facility, located near the Atlanta headquarters, to review prototypes, inspect production samples, or observe a pilot production run. The PM is expected to provide feedback on fit, finish, ergonomics, and user experience. Does the bed rail release mechanism operate smoothly? Is the wheelchair footrest swing away intuitive for a patient with limited dexterity? Does the stretcher side rail lock with an audible click that confirms engagement to a busy nurse? Friday often includes administrative activities, updating product roadmap presentations, preparing for upcoming trade shows. Gramfield regularly exhibits at Leading Age, MedTrade, ASCRS, GSASC/SCASCA, and World Health Expo Miami, writing or reviewing internal communications, and participating in quarterly business reviews. The PM also maintains ongoing relationships with key accounts, large GPO contract holders, major DME dealer chains, and hospital system procurement teams through regular phone calls, email correspondence, and occasional site visits. Travel requirements are moderate. Expect quarterly trips to the Wisconsin, Rhode Island, or North Carolina manufacturing facilities, attendance at 2 to 4 major trade shows per year, and periodic visits to key customer accounts across the country. One of the most immediate and overwhelming challenges facing a new product manager at Gramfield is the sheer scale of the product catalog. The company offers over 50,000 individual items spanning 10 brands, 4 market segments, and dozens of product categories. Each item has a unique SKU, a set of specifications, applicable regulatory classifications, associated HCPCS reimbursement codes for products sold through Medicare/Medicaid channels, pricing tiers that vary by channel and GPO contract, and compatibility relationships with other items in the catalog. A wheelchair model may be compatible with specific cushion SKUs, armrest options, footrest configurations, and positioning accessories. The catalog is managed through the company's Product Information Management, PIM, system and is exposed to customers through the Gramfield e-commerce platform at shop.gramfield.com, printed catalogs, and distributor-facing portals. The PM must develop a systematic approach to catalog mastery. The most effective method is to organize the catalog into product families and memorize the architecture rather than attempting to learn 50,000 individual items. For example, the Everest and Jennings wheelchair family includes standard manual wheelchairs, Traveler SE, Traveler SE Plus, Advantage LX, lightweight wheelchairs, transport chairs, including the deluxe transport chair with its integrated push-handle braking system, bariatric wheelchairs, tilt-in space wheelchairs, the Pure Tilt, and powered wheelchairs with Navigator Smart Drive technology. Each family shares a common frame architecture with modular configuration options, seat widths, armrest styles, desk length, full length, removable, footrest types, swing away, elevating, caster sizes, rear wheel options, and upholstery colors. Understanding the configurability matrix for each product family allows the PM to assess market coverage gaps, identify opportunities for new configurations, and rationalize redundant SKUs that create unnecessary manufacturing and inventory complexity. The PM is also responsible for SKU lifecycle management, identifying products that should be end-of-lifed due to declining demand, regulatory obsolescence, or manufacturing inefficiency, and proposing new products or product revisions that address emerging market needs or competitive gaps. Graham Field's approach to product information dissemination through its website, community portal, community.grahamfield.com, and the Go Graham Field blog, gograhamfield.com, is also within the PM's domain, as product specifications, feature descriptions, and use case positioning must be consistent and compelling across all channels. Graham Field's technology infrastructure, while not publicly disclosed in granular detail, can be reconstructed from available data, including job postings, technology profiling services, and industry standard systems for companies of this size and sector. According to technology profiling data, the company uses WordPress for its public-facing websites, grahamfield.com, community.grahamfield.com, gograhamfield.com, with supporting technologies including Cloudflare for content delivery and DDoS protection, reCAPTCHA for form security, MySQL for database management, Cadence WP Blocks for page construction, MailChimp for email marketing campaigns, Font Awesome for iconography, and Share This for social sharing widgets. The e-commerce platform at shop.grahamfield.com appears to be a separate system handling product catalog presentation, pricing, and order management. For internal operations, a medical device manufacturer of Graham Field's size and complexity typically employs an enterprise resource planning ERP system, likely SAP, Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics, or Epicor, to manage manufacturing operations, inventory, procurement, financials, and order fulfillment across multiple facilities. The Quality Management System, QMS, mandated by ISO 13485:2016 and MDSAP certification, requires dedicated software for managing design controls, CAPAs, corrective and preventive actions, complaint handling, non-conformance tracking, supplier quality management, document control, and audit management. Common QMS platforms in the medical device industry include Master Control, Greenlight, Guru, ETQ, Qualio, and Arena QMS. Product Lifecycle Management, PLM, software is essential for managing engineering drawings, bills of materials, engineering change orders, and design history files across multiple manufacturing sites. Common PLM platforms include PTC Windchill, Siemens Teamcenter, Arena PLM, and Autodesk Fusion Lifecycle. The company's recent hiring emphasis on process improvement and industry standards, as noted in Zoom Info's hiring signal data, suggests an ongoing investment in modernizing internal systems and processes. Microsoft Outlook is confirmed as the email platform. For a product manager, fluency in the ERP system is critical for pulling sales reports, checking inventory levels, reviewing cost data, and tracking order status. Fluency in the QMS is equally important for initiating design changes, reviewing complaint trends, and ensuring that all product modifications follow the documented quality procedures required to maintain ISO 13485 compliance. The PM should also be proficient in standard business tools, Excel for data analysis and financial modeling, PowerPoint for roadmap and trade show presentations, and project management tools, Microsoft Project, Smartsheet, Asana, or Monday.com, for tracking product development timelines. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration classifies medical devices into 3 risk-based categories that directly determine the regulatory pathway a product must follow before it can be legally marketed. Every product in Graham Field's catalog falls into one of these classes, and the product manager must understand the classification of every product family they manage, because classification drives design documentation requirements, testing obligations, manufacturing controls, labeling rules, and post-market surveillance responsibilities. Class 1 devices are considered lowest risk with minimal potential for harm. They are subject to general controls only, establishment registration, device listing, good manufacturing practices under 21 CFR Part 820, now transitioning to the QMSR aligned with ISO 13485, labeling requirements, and post-market reporting. Most Class 1 devices are exempt from pre-market notification 510K requirements, meaning they can be marketed without FDA clearance as long as the manufacturer registers the establishment and lists the device. Many of Graham Field's simpler products fall into Class 1, manual wheelchairs, non-powered, hospital bassinets, AC-powered adjustable hospital beds, some configurations, walkers, grab bars, bathroom safety products, basic exam room supplies, and certain patient aids. However, the PM must understand that even Class 1 exemption must be confirmed at the specific product code level. Assumptions based on device simplicity are not sufficient. Class 2 devices represent moderate risk and require special controls in addition to general controls. Special controls may include specific performance standards, labeling requirements, guidance documents, or post-market surveillance obligations. Most Class 2 devices require pre-market notification via the 510K pathway. in which the manufacturer must demonstrate that the new device is substantially equivalent to a legally marketed predicate device. Powered wheelchairs, certain blood pressure monitors, some patient lifts, and more complex bed systems may fall into Class 2. The 510K process requires the PM to identify an appropriate predicate device, prepare a detailed comparison of technological characteristics and performance data, conduct applicable testing, biocompatibility, electrical safety, electromagnetic compatibility, mechanical performance, and submit the complete package to the FDA's Center for Devices and Radiological Health, CDRH, for review. Approval timelines typically range from 3 to 12 months. Class 3 devices are the highest risk category and require the most rigorous pre-market approval PMA process. Gram-Field's product portfolio does not include Class 3 devices, as its products are primarily in the durable medical equipment, furniture, and diagnostic accessory categories, rather than the implantable or life-sustaining categories that define Class 3. The 510K pre-market notification is the regulatory gateway through which most of Gram-Field's Class 2 devices reach the market. Named after Section 510K of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, this process requires the manufacturer to demonstrate that a new or modified device is substantially equivalent to a legally marketed predicate device, meaning it has the same intended use and either the same technological characteristics or different technological characteristics that do not raise new questions of safety and effectiveness. For a product manager, the 510K is not merely a regulatory checkpoint. It is a strategic planning constraint that must be factored into every product development timeline. The average FDA review time for a 510K submission is 3 to 6 months, but this does not include the months of preparation required before submission. A typical 510K preparation cycle includes the following phases. Predicate identification. The PM works with regulatory affairs to search the FDA's 510K database for legally marketed devices with the same intended use and similar technological characteristics. The selection of an appropriate predicate is a strategic decision. Choosing a predicate with broad indications for use expands the marketing claims available for the new device, while choosing an overly narrow predicate may limit commercial flexibility. Device description and comparison. A detailed side-by-side comparison of the new device and predicate device, covering materials, design features, performance specifications, and intended use. Performance testing. Depending on the device type, this may include mechanical testing, load capacity, fatigue life, static strength for beds and wheelchairs, electrical safety testing, IEC 60601-1 for electronically powered medical equipment, electromagnetic compatibility, EMC testing, biocompatibility testing, ISO 10993 for materials in contact with patients, software validation, if the device contains controlling software, as with powered wheelchairs using smart drive technology, and flammability testing, upholstery materials. Labeling review, ensuring that all product labels, instructions for use, and promotional materials comply with FDA labeling requirements under 21 CFR Part 801. Submission assembly and filing, compiling all documentation into the prescribed FDA format and submitting electronically through the CDRH portal. Post-submission interaction, responding to FDA additional information, AI, requests, which occur in approximately 1/3 of 510K reviews and can add months to the timeline if the questions are substantive. In October 2019, GF Health Products achieved certification to ISO 13485:2016 and the Medical Device Single Audit Program, MDSAP, across all 6 of its U.S. locations: Atlanta, Georgia, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, Warwick, Rhode Island, High Point, North Carolina, Hazelwood, Missouri, and Pico Rivera, California. This certification, led by Senior Vice President Cherry L. Antoniazzi, represented a watershed moment in the company's regulatory maturity and opened doors to international market access that had previously been constrained. ISO 13485 is the internationally recognized quality management system standard specifically designed for organizations involved in the design, development, production, installation, and servicing of medical devices. It differs from the general-purpose ISO 9001 standard in several critical ways. It requires risk management to be integrated throughout the product realization process, aligned with ISO 14971. It demands more rigorous documentation and traceability requirements. It requires validation of production processes, including sterilization processes and software validation, and it mandates specific procedures for handling customer feedback and regulatory reporting. The MDSAP is a regulatory program that allows a single audit of a medical device manufacturer's quality management system to satisfy the requirements of multiple regulatory jurisdictions simultaneously. The participating regulatory authorities include the FDA, United States, Health Canada, Anvisa, Brazil, TGA, Australia, and PMDA, Japan. For Graham Field, MDSAP certification means that a single audit conducted by an accredited auditing organization can serve as evidence of compliance for market access in all 5 participating countries, dramatically reducing the audit burden and cost compared to hosting separate audits from each national regulatory authority. For the product manager, ISO 13485 compliance is not an abstract quality department concern. It permeates every product decision. Any design change to an existing product, no matter how minor, must follow the design control procedures documented in the quality management system. This means creating a design input specification, conducting risk analysis per ISO 14971, performing design verification and validation activities, updating the design history file, and obtaining formal management approval before the change can be released to manufacturing. The PM must understand the difference between a design change, which modifies the product's form, fit, or function, and triggers the full design control process, and a process change, which modifies how the product is manufactured without altering the finished product specification and may follow a simpler change management pathway. Additionally, the FDA's transition from 21 CFR Part 820 to the Quality Management System Regulation QMSR, which formally incorporates ISO 13485:2016 by reference with enforcement beginning February 2, 2026, means that the domestic regulatory framework is now fully harmonized with the international standard, a change that simplifies compliance for companies like Graham Field that already hold ISO 13485 certification. Design controls are the regulatory framework that governs how medical devices are designed, developed, verified, validated, and transferred to manufacturing. Under the Quality Management System. Regulation, formerly the Quality System Regulation, 21 CFR Part 820, design controls are mandatory for all Class 2 and Class 3 devices and are strongly recommended for Class 1 devices as well. For Graham Field, where the majority of products sold into Medicare reimbursed channels are classified under Class 1 or Class 2, design controls apply to a substantial portion of the portfolio. The design control process follows a structured waterfall methodology, though iterative approaches are becoming more common, that includes the following phases: design and development planning, establishing project scope, team responsibilities, timelines, and review milestones; design input, documenting the user needs, intended uses, performance requirements, safety requirements, regulatory requirements, and applicable standards that the device must satisfy; design output, the documented specifications, drawings, manufacturing instructions, and test procedures that result from the design process. Outputs must be in a form that can be verified against inputs. Design review, formal, documented reviews conducted at defined stages to evaluate design adequacy and identify problems. The PM typically participates in or leads these reviews. Design verification, confirmation through testing, inspection, or analysis that design outputs meet design input requirements. For example, testing that a bed frame can support the specified load capacity. Design validation, confirmation that the device meets user needs and intended uses under actual or simulated conditions of use. For example, having clinicians evaluate a prototype wheelchair in a realistic care setting. Design transfer, the controlled process of transitioning a design from development to manufacturing, ensuring that production processes can consistently reproduce the design with acceptable quality. And design changes, any modification to a released design must follow a formal change control process, including impact assessment, risk analysis, and re-verification/revalidation as appropriate. The PM's role in design controls is to serve as the voice of the market and the user, defining design inputs based on customer needs and competitive analysis, participating in design reviews to ensure commercial viability, coordinating design validation activities with clinical end users, and managing design change requests that originate from the field, customer complaints, competitive pressure, cost reduction opportunities. ISO 14971 is the international standard for the application of risk management to medical devices, and it is integrated throughout the quality management system required by ISO 13485. For a product manager at Graham Field, understanding risk management is not optional. It is a regulatory requirement that directly shapes product design decisions, labeling content, marketing claims, and post-market surveillance activities. The risk management process under ISO 14971 follows a structured lifecycle approach. Risk analysis begins with defining the intended use and identifying characteristics related to safety for each device. For a manual wheelchair, this analysis would consider hazards such as tip over during use on inclines, finger entrapment and folding mechanisms, brake failure on slopes, seat cushion pressure injury during prolonged sitting, structural failure under maximum rated load, and cross-contamination from porous surfaces that cannot be adequately disinfected. For each identified hazard, the PM and engineering team estimate the probability of occurrence and the severity of harm, then plot these on a risk matrix to determine the risk level, acceptable, as low as reasonably practicable or unacceptable. Risk evaluation involves comparing each identified risk against the criteria established in the company's risk management plan. The criteria define which risks are acceptable without further action, which require risk reduction measures, and which are categorically unacceptable regardless of mitigating factors. Risk control is where the PM's product design and labeling decisions directly impact patient safety. The hierarchy of risk controls follows a priority order. Inherently safe design first. Eliminate the hazard by design, for example, designing anti-tippers built into the wheelchair frame rather than offering them as optional accessories. Protective measures, second, adding guards, interlocks, or alarms, for example, audible brake engagement confirmation. And information for safety, third, labeling instructions for use, training materials, the least effective but sometimes only feasible option. For Gram-Field's products, practical risk control examples include the integrated push-handle braking system on transport chairs, eliminates the hazard of a wheelchair rolling away during patient transfer, anti-tip devices built into wheelchair frames, prevents rearward tip over, the slide WIDE sleep deck design on basic American beds, prevents patient entrapment between the mattress and side rails, and flame-retardant upholstery materials on all seating and bed products, reduces fire hazard in institutional settings where oxygen concentrators are in use. Residual risk evaluation assesses whether the overall residual risk of the device, after all risk controls are implemented, is acceptable. This evaluation is documented in a risk management report and is reviewed as part of the design control process. The Healthcare Common Procedure Coding System, HCPCS, is the coding system used by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, to identify and reimburse durable medical equipment, prosthetics, orthotics, and supplies, DMEPOS. For Gram-Field, HCPCS coding is not merely a billing administrative task. It is a strategic product design constraint that directly influences engineering decisions, pricing architecture, and market positioning. Every DME product that is reimbursed by Medicare Part B must be assigned a HCPCS code that corresponds to a specific product description and reimbursement rate. The PM must understand the HCPCS coding structure for their product categories. For hospital beds, the critical codes include E0250, hospital bed, fixed height with any type side rails with mattress, E0251, hospital bed, fixed height with any type side rails without mattress, E0255, hospital bed, variable height, high-low with any type side rails with mattress, E0260, hospital bed, semi-electric with any type side rails with mattress, and E0265, hospital bed, total electric with any type side rails with mattress. Each code carries a different reimbursement rate, and the incremental engineering cost of adding electric height adjustment, E0255 versus E0250, or full electric functionality, E0265 versus E0260, must be weighed against the incremental reimbursement it unlocks. For wheelchairs, the HCPCS coding matrix is even more complex, with different codes for standard manual wheelchairs, K0001, standard Hemi wheelchairs, K0002, lightweight wheelchairs, K0003, high-strength lightweight wheelchairs, K0004, and power wheelchairs across multiple group categories, group 1 to 5 depending on features and clinical need. Wheelchair accessories are coded separately: armrests, footrests, cushions, positioning belts, and anti-tippers. Each have their own HCPCS codes and reimbursement rates. The CMS competitive bidding program, which applies to specific product categories in designated geographic areas, has imposed relentless downward pressure on reimbursement rates for home care DME products. Under competitive bidding, suppliers submit bids to provide DME POS items to Medicare beneficiaries in a geographic area, and CMS selects winners based on bid prices. This program has driven home care reimbursement rates down by 30 to 50% in some categories over the past decade, forcing manufacturers like Gram-Field to continuously reduce cost and use while maintaining quality standards. For the PM, this means every product decision in the home care channel must be evaluated through the lens of reimbursement sufficiency. Will the DME dealer be able to purchase this product at our wholesale price, deliver and set it up, maintain it over the rental period, and still generate a sustainable margin given the CMS reimbursement rate? If the answer is no, the product will not sell regardless of its clinical features. Post-market surveillance is the systematic process of monitoring medical devices after they have been released to market, identifying safety issues, and taking corrective action when necessary. For a product manager at Graham Field, post-market surveillance data is the richest and most actionable source of product intelligence available. It tells you exactly how real users interact with your products, what fails, what frustrates, and what delights. Under FDA regulations and ISO 13485, Graham Field is required to maintain a complaint handling system that captures, investigates, and resolves every reported product issue. A complaint is defined as any written, electronic, or oral communication that alleges deficiencies related to the identity, quality, durability, reliability, safety, effectiveness, or performance of a device after it is released for distribution. This includes formal complaints from customers, adverse event reports from healthcare facilities, warranty claims, product return data, and feedback collected at trade shows or through sales representatives. The PM should regularly review complaint trend data to identify emerging patterns. For example, if complaint data shows a statistically significant increase in motor failures on a specific bed model after 12 months of service, this might indicate a component quality issue that requires a supplier, corrective action, a design modification, or a change in the recommended maintenance schedule documented in the instructions for use. If complaint data shows that caregivers consistently report difficulty with the wheelchair footrest release mechanism, this might indicate a design usability issue that should be addressed in the next product revision through a design change. The PM must understand the Medical Device Reporting (MDR) requirements under 21 CFR Part 803, which mandate that manufacturers report to the FDA any event that reasonably suggests that a device may have caused or contributed to a death or serious injury, or any malfunction that would be likely to cause or contribute to a death or serious injury if it were to recur. These MDR reports are submitted through the FDA's electronic reporting system and become part of the public record in the MAUDE, Manufacturer and User Facility Device Experience, database. The PM should be aware that their product's MDR history is publicly searchable and may be reviewed by GPO procurement committees, hospital value analysis teams, and competitor intelligence analysts. FDA labeling requirements under 21 CFR Part 800. One apply to every medical device marketed in the United States, and the product manager is directly responsible for ensuring that all labeling, defined broadly to include product labels, packaging, instructions for use, IFU, catalogs, brochures, website content, and promotional materials, is accurate, non-misleading, and compliant with applicable regulations. The term labeling in the FDA's regulatory lexicon is far broader than most people assume. It encompasses any written, printed, or graphic material that accompanies a device or is used to promote or describe it. This means the product specifications on grahamfield.com, the marketing collateral distributed at trade shows, the catalog descriptions sent to distributors, and even the social media posts on Graham Field's LinkedIn page are all considered labeling and must comply with FDA requirements. The essential labeling elements for a medical device include the device's proprietary name and common or usual name, the name and address of the manufacturer, GF Health Products, Inc., 2935 Northeast Parkway, Atlanta, Georgia, 30360, adequate directions for use, including indications, contraindications, warnings, precautions, and instructions, a description of the device and its intended use, and any required performance specifications. For products that have received 5.1 OK clearance, the labeling must be consistent with the indications for use stated in the cleared 5.1 OK. The PM cannot make marketing claims that exceed the scope of the FDA clearance. Weight capacity claims are particularly critical for Graham Field's products. If a wheelchair is labeled as supporting up to 250 pounds, the engineering team must have verification test data demonstrating that the product meets or exceeds that capacity with an appropriate safety factor. And the PM must ensure that no marketing material implies the product is suitable for patients exceeding that capacity. The Gendron bariatric line, with products rated for 500 pounds, requires especially rigorous labeling to distinguish standard duty products from bariatric products and to clearly communicate weight capacity limitations. Graham Field's MDSAP certification opens the door to international markets that represent significant growth opportunities beyond the domestic U.S. market. The PM must understand the regulatory pathways for the major international markets. The European Union requires CE marking under the Medical Device Regulation, EUMDR 2017/745, which replaced the older Medical Device Directive 93/42/EEC. CE marking requires device classification under EU rules, which use a rules-based system rather than the US predicate-based system, conformity assessment by a notified body for Class 1, 2, 2A, 2B, and 3 devices, establishment of a quality management system, ISO 13485 certification satisfies this requirement, creation of a technical file or design dossier, appointment of an authorized representative in the EU, and registration in the EU DAMED database. For Gramfield's product portfolio, most products would be classified as Class 1 under EU rules, non-invasive, non-active devices like manual wheelchairs, walkers, and basic beds, or Class 2A, active medical devices like powered wheelchairs and electrically adjustable beds. Canada requires MDSAP certification and device licensing through Health Canada's Medical Devices Bureau. Gramfield's existing MDSAP certification significantly simplifies Canadian market access. Australia requires inclusion on the Australian Register of Therapeutic Goods, ARTG, administered by the Therapeutic Goods Administration, TGA, and MDSAP certification is recognized. Japan requires approval through the Pharmaceuticals and Medical Devices Agency, PMDA, and MDSAP is recognized. Brazil requires registration with Anvisa, and MDSAP certification streamlines the process. The PM's role in international regulatory strategy is to identify which products have the strongest market potential in each geography, assess the regulatory investment required for market entry, and work with regulatory affairs to prioritize submissions based on expected return on investment. Gramfield has noted attendance at international trade shows, including Medical Fair Asia, indicating active pursuit of Asian markets. The company's employee presence across 3 continents, North America, Asia, and Africa, confirms international commercial activity. Every medical device manufacturer will eventually face a product safety event that requires adverse event reporting and potentially a product recall. The product manager must understand the reporting obligations, recall procedures, and communication protocols that apply when a Gramfield product is associated with patient harm or product malfunction. Under 21 CFR Part 803, Medical Device Reporting, manufacturers must report to the FDA within 30 calendar days any event that reasonably suggests that a device may have caused or contributed to a death or serious injury, and within 30 calendar days any device malfunction that would be likely to cause or contribute to a death or serious injury if it were to recur. 5-day expedited reports are required when the manufacturer becomes aware of an event that requires remedial action to prevent an unreasonable risk of substantial harm to public health, or when an FDA request is made for the submission of a 5-day report. For Gramfield's products, potential reportable events include a hospital bed side rail entrapment resulting in patient injury or death. This has been a significant safety concern industry-wide, prompting FDA guidance documents and dimensional specifications for entrapment zones, a wheelchair structural failure causing a fall with injury, a powered wheelchair loss of control resulting in collision injury, a patient lift sling failure causing a patient drop, or an electrical malfunction in a powered bed causing shock or fire. Product recalls are classified by the FDA into 3 categories based on the severity of the health hazard. Class 1, reasonable probability that use of the product will cause serious adverse health consequences or death. Class 2 may cause temporary or medically reversible adverse health consequences, or probability of serious consequences is remote. And Class 3, not likely to cause adverse health consequences. The PM's role during a recall includes assisting in the health hazard evaluation, coordinating communication with sales representatives and distribution partners, managing customer notification and product retrieval logistics, overseeing corrective action, redesign, relabeling, repair, or replacement, and ensuring that the CAPA, corrective and preventive action, process captures root cause and prevents recurrence. The PM should also be aware that recall information is publicly available on the FDA's recall database and is actively monitored by competitors, customers, and media. Durable medical equipment exists at the intersection of medical device regulation and disability rights law. The Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act, and emerging accessibility standards directly influence how Gramfield products are designed, labeled, and marketed. While the ADA does not directly regulate medical device manufacturers, it creates legal obligations for the healthcare facilities and DME dealers who purchase and deploy Gramfield products, and those obligations flow upstream to influence product specifications and purchasing decisions. For wheelchair products, the ADA's accessibility guidelines, ADAAG, for buildings and facilities, specify doorway widths, ramp slopes, turning radius requirements, and reach ranges that directly constrain wheelchair dimensions. A product manager must ensure that wheelchair products are designed to be compatible with ADA-compliant built environments, meaning the overall width must allow passage through a 32-inch clear doorway, the turning radius must accommodate a 60-inch diameter turning space, and the seat height must be compatible with standard accessible counter heights. For hospital beds and exam room furniture, accessibility considerations include the ability to lower the sleeping surface or exam surface to wheelchair transfer height, typically 17 to 19 inches from the floor, the ability for patients with limited upper body strength or dexterity to operate bed controls, and the ability for bariatric patients to safely transfer between a wheelchair and the bed or exam table. The Gendron bariatric product line is particularly critical in this regard, as it serves patients whose body habitus exceeds the design parameters of standard equipment. The product manager should be aware of the U.S. Access Board's ongoing work on medical diagnostic equipment accessibility standards, which may eventually impose specific design requirements on exam tables, imaging equipment, and other clinical devices. Additionally, the PM should consider universal design principles, designing products that are usable by the widest possible range of users without adaptation, as a competitive differentiator and a risk mitigation strategy. Environmental regulations are an increasingly important consideration for medical device manufacturers, and the product manager must understand how these regulations impact material selection, manufacturing processes, packaging, and end-of-life disposal of Gram-Field products. The European Union's Restriction of Hazardous Substances, RoHS, directive restricts the use of specific hazardous materials: lead, mercury, cadmium, hexavalent chromium, polybrominated biphenyls, PBB, and polybrominated diphenyl ethers, PBDE, in electrical and electronic equipment. While medical devices have historically been exempt from certain RoHS requirements, the exemption landscape is evolving, and the PM should design with RoHS compliance as a default to ensure future market access in Europe and other jurisdictions that have adopted similar restrictions. The EU's Registration, Evaluation, Authorization, and Restriction of Chemicals, REACH, regulation requires manufacturers and importers to register chemical substances used in products and to communicate information on hazardous substances to downstream users. For Gram-Field, REACH compliance is relevant to foam mattress materials, which may contain flame retardant chemicals, upholstery fabrics, which may contain per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS, adhesives, coatings, and electronic components. California's Proposition 65, the Safe Drinking Water and Toxic Enforcement Act, requires businesses to provide warnings about significant exposures to chemicals that cause cancer, birth defects, or other reproductive harm. Many medical device products require Prop 65 labeling when sold or distributed in California, and the PM must ensure that appropriate warnings are included in product labeling for California-destined shipments. Waste electrical and electronic equipment, WEEE, directives in the EU require manufacturers of electrical equipment to finance the collection, treatment, and recycling of end-of-life products. For powered wheelchairs, electric beds, and diagnostic devices with electronic components, WEEE compliance obligations apply when selling into the European market. The PM should also be aware of growing customer demand, particularly from large hospital systems and GPOs with sustainability commitments, for products made with recycled materials, products that can be refurbished or remanufactured at end of life, and packaging that minimizes waste. Gram-Field's Made in USA manufacturing strategy provides an inherent sustainability advantage in reduced transportation emissions compared to products shipped from overseas factories. Trade shows are a critical channel for product promotion, competitive intelligence gathering, customer relationship building, and regulatory engagement in the medical device industry. Gram-Field maintains an active trade show presence, and the product manager plays a central role in preparing for and executing these events. The company's confirmed trade show participation includes Leading Age Annual Meeting, the largest gathering of professionals in aging services, attended by senior living operators, skilled nursing facility administrators, and long-term care technology vendors. Gram-Field attended the 2025 conference in Boston, Massachusetts. MedTrade, the largest home care medical equipment trade show in the U.S., held annually in Atlanta, conveniently near Gram-Field's headquarters. ASCRS, American Society of Cataract and Refractive Surgery Annual Meeting, where Gram-Field exhibits the Housted Ophthalmology Platform and eye surgery stretcher at booth positions. GSASC/SCASC A Conference, Georgia Society of Ambulatory Surgical Centers / South Carolina Ambulatory Surgery Center Association, where Gram-Field exhibits stretchers and exam room furniture for ambulatory surgical centers. World Health Expo Miami, an international health exhibition where Gram-Field showcased products run in 2025. And Medical Fair Asia, indicating active pursuit of the Asian healthcare market. The PM's trade show responsibilities include defining which products to showcase, prioritizing new launches, recently acquired product lines, and products targeting the specific audience of each show, developing booth messaging and product demonstration scripts, training sales representatives on product features, competitive positioning and objection handling, collecting competitive intelligence by walking competitor booths and attending presentations, gathering voice of customer feedback through conversations with attendees, identifying potential partnership or distribution opportunities, and conducting post-show analysis, leads generated, competitive insights, customer feedback themes. The PM should also view trade shows as regulatory engagement opportunities. FDA representatives attend major medical device shows, and industry conferences often include regulatory update sessions, where the PM can learn about upcoming regulatory changes, enforcement trends, and guidance documents. Similarly, trade show education sessions provide insight into emerging clinical practices, reimbursement changes, and market trends that should inform product strategy. The product lifecycle at Graham Field follows a structured progression from market need identification through concept development, design and engineering, regulatory clearance, manufacturing transfer, market launch, ongoing support, and eventual end of life. Each phase has distinct activities, stakeholders, documentation requirements, and decision gates. The PM is the lifecycle owner, the single point of accountability for a product's commercial success from inception to discontinuation. The lifecycle begins with opportunity identification, where the PM synthesizes inputs from multiple sources: customer feedback from sales representatives and complaint data, competitive gap analysis from trade show intelligence and market research, reimbursement landscape changes from CMS announcements and GPO contract negotiations, clinical trend data from healthcare journals and KOL, key opinion leader engagement, and internal manufacturing capability assessments from the engineering and operations teams. The concept phase involves developing a product concept brief that articulates the target market segment, intended user, clinical need being addressed, preliminary performance specifications, estimated price point and margin target, competitive positioning, and high-level development timeline. This brief is presented at a concept review gate where senior leadership decides whether to invest development resources. The design and engineering phase follows the design control framework discussed in Module 16, with the PM contributing market requirements as design inputs, participating in design reviews, and coordinating clinical validation with end user sites. The manufacturing transfer phase is where many medical device PM careers are tested. Translating an engineering prototype into a consistently reproducible production item requires intimate collaboration with manufacturing engineers, quality engineers, and production supervisors. For Graham Field, this means working with teams across up to 4 domestic manufacturing facilities and ensuring that production processes leverage existing capabilities, laser cutting, robotic welding, automated coating, upholstery fabrication, wherever possible. The market launch phase involves sales enablement, training, collateral pricing, distribution channel activation, GPO contract submissions, distributor onboarding, marketing communications, press releases, website updates, social media, trade publication advertising, and launch performance tracking. First quarter sales versus forecast, complaint rates, customer satisfaction. The ongoing support phase encompasses product line extensions, cost reduction initiatives, quality improvement projects, and competitive response activities. The end-of-life phase requires careful planning to manage remaining inventory, communicate discontinuation to customers, ensure replacement product availability, and fulfill ongoing warranty obligations. For a company with over 50,000 SKUs, the PM must continuously evaluate which products to invest in, which to maintain, and which to discontinue, a portfolio management discipline that separates effective PMs from overwhelmed ones. Voice of Customer, VOC, is the systematic process of capturing customer needs, preferences, pain points, and unmet requirements, and translating them into actionable product insights. At Graham Field, VOC data comes from multiple channels, each with distinct characteristics. Sales representative feedback is the most voluminous source. Graham Field's sales team, which includes both direct representatives and independent sales agents covering the Southeast U.S. and other territories, interacts daily with DME dealers, hospital procurement teams, nursing facility administrators, and end users. The PM must establish a structured process for capturing and prioritizing sales feedback, distinguishing between individual anecdotes, which may reflect a single customer's unique situation, and systematic themes, which indicate broad market opportunities or threats. Customer complaint data, discussed in Module 19, provides unfiltered, candid feedback about product failures, usability issues, and service gaps. Trade show interactions offer high-quality conversational data from a diverse cross-section of the market in a compressed timeframe. The PM should prepare a structured interview guide for trade show conversations, not a rigid questionnaire, but a set of open-ended questions designed to surface latent needs. GPO contract negotiations reveal institutional buyer priorities. When a GPO requests specific features, certifications, or pricing structures as conditions of contract inclusion, these are powerful demand signals. Clinical literature and research publications identify emerging care practices that may create new product requirements. For example, the growing emphasis on early mobilization in acute care settings has increased demand for bariatric patient handling equipment as the prevalence of obesity increases. Competitor product launches signal market direction. When a competitor introduces a new feature or enters a new category, it validates market demand and requires the PM to assess whether Graham Field should respond with a competitive offering. The PM must synthesize these diverse inputs into a structured prioritization framework, a product requirements matrix that weights each need by frequency, how many customers express this need, intensity, how strongly they feel about it, Strategic alignment. Does it fit Graham Field's brand positioning and manufacturing capabilities? And financial impact. What is the revenue opportunity and margin contribution of addressing this need versus the development cost and timeline? This prioritized matrix becomes the foundation for the product roadmap discussed in Module 28. A product roadmap in the medical device industry differs fundamentally from a software product roadmap due to the physical constraints of manufacturing, the regulatory overhead of design changes, and the multi-year investment horizons of tooling and production line modifications. At Graham Field, the product roadmap must account for these realities while remaining responsive to market dynamics. The roadmap is typically organized on a rolling 3-year horizon, with quarterly granularity for the first year, semi-annual granularity for year 2, and annual themes for year 3. The roadmap includes several categories of initiatives. New product introductions, NPIs, are entirely new products designed to address unserved market needs or enter new product categories. For example, Graham Field's 2026 introduction of a next-generation long-term care bed represents an NPI that was likely in development for 18 to 24 months prior to announcement. Product line extensions add new configurations, scenes, or feature options to existing product families, adding a new seat width option to an existing wheelchair model, introducing a new upholstery color for a clinical care recliner, or offering a new motor option for an existing bed platform. Cost reduction and value engineering initiatives reduce the manufacturing cost of existing products without changing their external specifications, substituting a less expensive steel alloy that meets the same strength requirements, consolidating multiple fastener types to reduce inventory complexity, or redesigning a component to eliminate a secondary machining operation. Acquisition integration projects bring newly acquired product lines, TransferMaster, Gendron, into the Graham Field manufacturing, quality, and distribution systems. Regulatory and compliance projects address changing regulatory requirements, updating products to comply with new FDA guidance, obtaining additional international certifications, or modifying products to meet updated industry standards. Quality improvement projects address patterns identified in complaint data or internal quality metrics. The PM presents the roadmap quarterly to senior leadership and annually to the board, defending prioritization decisions with data-driven business cases. The roadmap is not a commitment. It is a strategic plan that must be flexible enough to accommodate unexpected market shifts, competitive threats, and regulatory changes, while providing sufficient stability for manufacturing and supply chain planning. The Bill of Materials, BOM, is the foundational document that defines every component, subassembly, raw material, and purchase part that constitutes a finished product. For a product manager at Graham Field, BOM literacy is essential because the BOM directly determines manufacturing cost, supplier dependencies, lead times, quality risks, and the feasibility of design changes. A typical Graham Field extended care bed BOM includes steel tubing, multiple gauges and cross sections for the frame, laser-cut steel components, brackets, mounting plates, actuator housings, welded subassemblies, headboard frame, footboard frame, sleep deck sections, powder coat finish materials, epoxy or polyester powder in specified colors, mattress deck components, spring assemblies or solid platforms, electric motors and linear actuators for semi-electric and full electric models, wiring harnesses and control circuits, casters and locking mechanisms, side rail assemblies with entrapment prevention geometry, bed control pendants, handsets with cable or wireless connectivity, upholstery fabric, flame retardant, fluid resistant, antimicrobial treated, foam padding for headboard and footboard panels, fasteners, bolts, nuts, screws, rivets, standardized where possible to reduce inventory complexity, and labeling and packaging materials. Each BOM line item has associated specifications, material grade, dimensional tolerances, surface finish requirements, supplier qualification status, incoming inspection criteria, and HCPCS relevant features. Does this component contribute to the product meeting the requirements of a specific reimbursement code? The PM must understand how BOM changes cascade through the system. Changing a motor supplier, for example, affects cost, lead time, incoming inspection procedures, design history file documentation, risk analysis. Does the new motor have different failure modes? And potentially 510 OK status. Does the motor change alter the product's substantial equivalence to its predicate? BOM management is typically handled through the ERP system, with engineering change orders, ECOs, providing the formal mechanism for modifying released BOMs. The PM initiates or approves ECOs for commercially driven changes, cost reduction, customer requested modifications, while engineering initiates ECOs for technically driven changes, design improvements, manufacturing optimization. Every ECO follows the design control process documented in the quality management system. The engineering change order, ECO, is the formal, documented process through which any modification to a released product design, manufacturing process, or product specification is proposed, evaluated, approved, and implemented. In a medical device company operating under ISO 13485, the ECO process is not merely an administrative procedure. It is a regulatory requirement that ensures product changes are controlled, traceable, and validated before implementation. At Graham Field, the ECO process typically follows this workflow. The PM, Engineer Quality Professional or Manufacturing Supervisor, identifies a need for a product change. Common triggers include customer complaint trends, indicating a design deficiency, cost reduction opportunities, identified through value engineering analysis, supplier discontinuation of a key component requiring substitution, competitive pressure, requiring feature additions, regulatory or standards, changes requiring design updates, and manufacturing process improvements that affect the finished product. The change initiator creates an ECO request, documenting the proposed change, the justification, and the expected impact on product specifications, manufacturing processes, quality procedures, regulatory status, labeling, and customer-facing documentation. A cross-functional change control board, typically including representatives from engineering, quality, regulatory, manufacturing, supply chain, sales/marketing, and product management, reviews the ECO and assesses its impact. The PM's role on the change control board is to evaluate the commercial impact. Will this change affect customer perception, pricing, competitive positioning, or reimbursement eligibility? Will existing inventory need to be reworked, scrapped, or sold at markdown? Will customers need to be notified of the change? Will marketing materials, catalogs, and website content need to be updated? If the change affects the device's design outputs, form, fit, or function, the design control process is triggered, requiring updated risk analysis, design verification and / or validation, and design history file documentation. If the change is process only, modifying how the product is manufactured without altering the finished product, a simpler process, change procedure may apply. After approval, the ECO is implemented according to a defined effectivity plan. Serial number effectivity, the change applies starting at a specific serial number. Date effectivity, the change applies to all production after a specific date. Or lot effectivity, the change applies to a specific production lot. The PM tracks ECO implementation to ensure that all affected systems, ERP, QMS, PLM, marketing materials, website, distributor portals, are updated consistently. The Fond du Lac, Wisconsin manufacturing facility is the steel fabrication heart of Graham Field's bed manufacturing operation. Originally, the Basic American Medical Products facility, this plant houses the company's most advanced manufacturing systems, including a bi-dimensional fiber optic laser cutting system, computer-controlled robotic welding cells, and an upgraded automated powder coating line. The product manager must understand how these manufacturing capabilities both enable and constrain product design. The fiber optic laser cutting system can process steel tubing and sheet metal with exceptional precision, cutting complex geometries that would be impossible or prohibitively expensive with traditional mechanical cutting methods. This enables design features like the slide WIDE sleep deck geometry on Basic American beds, which uses precisely shaped cutouts and tabs to create interlocking deck sections that prevent mattress migration and patient entrapment. Understanding laser cutting capabilities means the PM can propose designs with complex perimeter shapes, small radius curves, and tight tolerance features without fear that manufacturing cannot execute them. However, laser cutting has its own constraints: material thickness, limits, kerf width, considerations. The laser beam removes a narrow strip of material which affects dimensional accuracy. Heat-affected zone properties, the area adjacent to the cut, may have altered metallurgical properties, and throughput rates. Complex cuts with many direction changes take longer per part, increasing cost. The PM must collaborate with manufacturing engineering to optimize designs for laser cutting efficiency, minimizing the number of piercing operations, nesting parts efficiently on sheet material to reduce waste, and orienting cut paths to minimize travel time between features. For new product development, the PM should request early manufacturing feasibility reviews to ensure that proposed designs can be produced on existing equipment without requiring new tooling investments that would increase project cost and timeline. Robotic welding at the Fond du Lac facility delivers consistent, repeatable weld quality across thousands of identical joints per production shift, a level of consistency that manual welding cannot match. For the product manager, understanding robotic welding is essential because weld joint design directly affects structural integrity, appearance, weight, and manufacturing cost. Graham Field's robotic welding cells are programmed to execute precise weld paths on bed frames, wheelchair frames, stretcher structures, and other load-bearing assemblies. Each weld program specifies the travel speed, wire feed rate, shielding gas flow, arc voltage, an oscillation pattern required to produce a weld that meets the strength and appearance specifications documented in the design outputs. The PM should understand the difference between MIG, metal inert gas, welding, which is the most common process for steel fabrication and medical device manufacturing, and TIG, tungsten inert gas, welding, which produces higher quality welds on thinner materials and visible surfaces, but at significantly lower production speeds. For a hospital bed frame that will be powder coated, MIG welds are typically sufficient because the coating conceals minor surface imperfections. For a visible stainless steel component on a premium product, TIG welding may be required for aesthetic reasons despite the higher cost. The PM must also understand weld testing requirements, destructive testing, breaking sample welds to verify joint strength, non-destructive testing, visual inspection, die penetrant testing for surface cracks, and statistical process control, monitoring weld parameters in real time to detect drift before it produces defective parts. These quality procedures are part of the ISO 13485 quality management system and must be maintained regardless of cost pressure. Powder coating is the surface finishing process that gives Gram-Field's metal products their durable, attractive appearance and protects them from corrosion and chemical exposure in institutional healthcare environments. The automated powder coating line at the Fond du Lac facility applies an electrostatically charged dry powder, typically an epoxy, polyester, or hybrid formulation, to metal parts, which are then cured in an oven at temperatures between 300 and 400 degrees Fahrenheit to create a hard, durable finish. For the product manager, powder coating decisions affect product aesthetics, durability, infection control capability, environmental compliance, and cost. The PM must understand the performance requirements that drive coating specification, institutional healthcare environments, subject products to aggressive cleaning with hospital-grade disinfectants, quaternary ammonium compounds, bleach solutions, hydrogen peroxide, mechanical abrasion from daily use, bed rail impacts, wheelchair folding, stretcher collisions during transport, UV exposure, products positioned near windows in patient rooms and lobbies, and bodily fluid exposure, requiring non-porous, non-absorptive surfaces. The coating specification must ensure adhesion per ASTM D3359 tape test, hardness per ASTM D336 3-pencil hardness test, chemical resistance per ASTM D1308 spot test with specified reagents, and color consistency per colorimetric measurements against a defined standard. The PM selects coating colors in consultation with marketing and customer feedback. Healthcare facility designers increasingly specify specific color palettes to create therapeutic environments. And Gram-Field must offer colors that align with contemporary interior design trends while maintaining sufficient inventory efficiency. Too many color options create inventory complexity and small batch production inefficiency. The Doraville, Georgia facility houses Gram-Field's medical upholstery, assembly, and distribution operations. Upholstery manufacturing is a distinctive competency that differentiates Gram-Field from competitors who outsource soft goods to contract manufacturers. For the product manager, upholstery is a critical design element because it is the primary patient contact surface, the interface between the medical device and the human body, and therefore carries significant implications for patient safety, comfort, infection control, durability, and aesthetic appeal. Medical upholstery fabrics must meet stringent performance requirements that far exceed those of commercial furniture upholstery. Flame retardancy is the most critical. All Gram-Field upholstery materials must comply with California Technical Bulletin 117, CALTB 117, and often with the more stringent CALTB 133 full furniture flammability test, which simulates a realistic ignition scenario in an environment where supplemental oxygen may be in use. Fluid resistance is essential. The fabric must resist penetration by blood, urine, wound drainage, IV fluids, and cleaning solutions. Antimicrobial treatment inhibits the growth of bacteria, mold, and mildew on the fabric surface, an increasingly important feature as healthcare-associated infections, HAIs, remain a major quality concern for hospitals and nursing facilities. Tear strength and abrasion resistance determine how long the upholstery will maintain its integrity under institutional use. A clinical care recliner in a nursing facility may be transferred in and out of multiple times per day by patients of varying weights, creating concentrated stress on seams and attachment points. The PM must specify upholstery materials that balance all these requirements against cost constraints and aesthetic preferences, and must work with the upholstery team in Doraville to ensure that sewing patterns, foam densities, and attachment methods, staples, adhesives, hook and loop fasteners, are optimized for both manufacturing efficiency and end-user experience. Supply chain management for medical devices operates under significantly more stringent requirements than general manufacturing due to the regulatory obligation to qualify, monitor, and control suppliers of components and materials that become part of the finished device. Under ISO 13485, Gramfield must establish and maintain a supplier qualification process that evaluates each supplier's ability to consistently provide materials, components, and services that meet specified requirements. The PM must understand the supplier qualification process because it directly affects the timeline for introducing new products or making component changes. Qualifying a new supplier typically involves completing a supplier questionnaire to assess their quality management system, reviewing their certifications, ISO 9001, ISO 13485 if applicable, conducting an on-site audit or accepting a third-party audit report, evaluating sample parts against incoming inspection criteria, and performing first article inspection of initial production quantities. This process can take 3 to 6 months, which must be factored into product development timelines. The PM must also understand the concept of approved supplier lists, ASLs, the documented roster of suppliers authorized to provide specific materials and components for each product. Purchasing is restricted to ASL approved suppliers, and deviating from the ASL requires a formal supplier change process that may trigger design change documentation. For the PM, supplier management also involves monitoring supplier performance metrics, on-time delivery, incoming quality, responsiveness to corrective action requests, managing supplier risks, sole source dependencies, geographic concentration, financial stability, and negotiating pricing and terms that support the product's cost and margin targets. Gramfield's emphasis on domestic manufacturing reduces, but does not eliminate international supply chain exposure. Electronic components, specialty materials, and certain subassemblies may still be sourced from overseas suppliers. Gramfield operates 5 distribution centers, strategically positioned to provide nationwide coverage with competitive delivery times. Doraville, Georgia, co-located with headquarters in the upholstery/assembly facility. Edison, New Jersey, serving the dense Northeast market. Hazelwood, Missouri, serving the central U.S., Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, co-located with the steel fabrication facility, and Pico Rivera, California, serving the West Coast. The PM must understand inventory management across this distributed network because product availability directly determines whether a sales opportunity converts to revenue or is lost to a competitor who can ship faster. Key inventory management concepts for the PM include safety stock levels, the minimum inventory maintained at each DC to buffer against demand variability and supply disruptions, reorder points, the inventory level that triggers a replenishment order from the manufacturing facility, lead time management, the elapsed time from order placement to inventory receipt, which varies by product type and manufacturing location, demand forecasting, predicting future sales by product, channel, and geography to optimize inventory positioning, and dead stock management, identifying and dispositioning slow-moving or obsolete inventory that consumes warehouse space and ties up working capital. The PM must collaborate with supply chain planners to ensure that new product launches are supported with adequate inventory across all 5 DCs, that seasonal demand patterns are reflected in inventory plans, and that product discontinuations are managed to minimize write-offs. The Gramfield Express program, which offers same-day and next-day delivery of certain products to home care dealers, requires particularly precise inventory management to maintain service levels without excessive safety stock investment. Group purchasing organizations, GPOs, are collaborative entities that aggregate the purchasing volume of their member healthcare facilities to negotiate volume-based contracts with manufacturers. The major GPOs include Vizient, formed from the merger of VHA and Novation, representing thousands of hospitals and health systems, Premier, representing over 4,000 hospitals, HealthTrust, the GPO arm of HCA Healthcare, Intellere, and GNYHA. For Gramfield, GPO contracts are the primary mechanism for accessing institutional customers in the long-term care and acute care segments. Winning and maintaining GPO contracts requires the PM to understand the full contract lifecycle. The request for proposal, RFP, response process, which requires detailed product specifications, pricing proposals, quality certifications, delivery guarantees, and references from existing customers. The contract negotiation phase, where GPO category managers push for lower pricing, broader warranty terms, and value-added services. The contract compliance phase, where the manufacturer must deliver on committed pricing, fill rates, and service levels to avoid penalties or contract termination. And the contract renewal process, typically every 3 to 5 years, requiring the PM to demonstrate ongoing value through competitive pricing, product innovation, and superior service. The PM must understand that GPO pricing is typically the lowest in the product's pricing architecture. GPO members receive preferential pricing in exchange for committed volume. This means the PM must structure the pricing waterfall carefully. List price serves as the anchor, distribution pricing provides a standard trade discount, and GPO pricing represents the deepest discount tier. If GPO pricing is set too aggressively, it can create margin pressure that makes the product unprofitable. If set too conservatively, the manufacturer loses the contract to a more aggressive competitor. The PM must model the financial impact of GPO contracts using total contract volume estimates, required pricing, product mix assumptions, and fully loaded manufacturing costs to ensure that every GPO contract contributes positive margin. DME, durable medical equipment, dealers are the primary distribution channel for Gramfield's home care products and represent a significant portion of the company's revenue. These dealers range from large national chains like Apria Healthcare and Rotec to small, family-owned storefront operations serving local communities. The PM must understand the DME dealer business model to design products and pricing strategies that enable dealer success. The typical DME dealer acquires products from manufacturers like Gramfield, either directly or through distributors, delivers and sets up equipment in patient homes, bills Medicare Part B, Medicaid, or private insurance for reimbursement, and maintains and services the equipment throughout the patient's period of use. The dealer's profitability depends on the spread between the acquisition cost of the product and the reimbursement received, minus the operating costs of delivery, setup, maintenance, and administrative overhead. The CMS competitive bidding program has compressed this spread dramatically, forcing dealers to seek the lowest possible acquisition costs while maintaining minimum service quality. For the PM, this means that product design must explicitly optimize cost and use, minimizing delivery complexity, lighter weight, compact packaging, intuitive assembly, reducing maintenance requirements, durable components, easy to replace wear items, standardized parts that minimize the dealer's spare parts inventory, extending product lifespan, robust construction that supports multiple patient use cycles, and simplifying documentation and billing, clearly labeled HCPCS relevant features, complete and accurate product specifications for insurance claims. Gramfield's Lumex Patriot LX home care bed exemplifies this design philosophy. The bed is 30 pounds lighter than its predecessor, has no moving parts in the headboard or footboard, eliminating a common failure point, and uses a single motor for semi-electric functionality. All design decisions driven by the goal of minimizing the dealer's total cost of ownership. Pricing strategy in the DME market is constrained by three forces that do not exist in most industries: government-administered reimbursement rates, GPO negotiated volume discounts, and intensifying import competition. The PM must navigate these constraints to establish pricing that supports the company's margin targets while remaining competitive in each market segment. The pricing architecture at Gramfield typically includes multiple tiers: manufacturer's suggested retail price, MSRP, which serves as a reference point but is rarely the actual transaction price; distributor pricing, the wholesale price at which distributors purchase from Gramfield; GPO contract pricing, negotiated volume-based pricing for institutional customers; and promotional pricing, temporary discounts for new product launches, trade show specials, or volume commitment incentives. The PM must model pricing using a fully loaded cost basis that includes direct materials, BOM cost, direct labor, manufacturing time multiplied by loaded labor rates including benefits and overhead, manufacturing overhead, facility costs, equipment depreciation, utilities, quality system maintenance, sales and marketing allocation, trade show costs, advertising, catalog production, sales commission, freight and distribution, outbound shipping to DCs and from DCs to customers, warranty reserve, estimated future cost of warranty claims based on historical data, and regulatory compliance allocation, ongoing FDA registration, ISO 13485 audit fees, design file maintenance. The target gross margin for a medical device manufacturer of Gramfield's size and market position is typically 40 to 50%, though this varies by product category and channel. The PM must conduct regular margin analysis by product family, identifying SKUs that have drifted below target margin due to cost increases that were not passed through to customers, and either adjusting pricing or initiating cost reduction projects to restore margins. With the knowledge, tools, and materials they need to effectively communicate product value and close deals. At Gramfield, the PM is a primary contributor to sales enablement because the PM possesses the deepest understanding of product features, competitive positioning, and clinical applications. The PM's sales enablement responsibilities include creating product training materials for new product launches and product updates, feature benefit summaries, competitive comparison charts, objection handling guides, FAQ documents, developing product demonstration scripts for trade show presentations and customer site visits, conducting webinar training sessions for the direct and independent sales teams, creating pricing tools that help sales representatives quickly configure product solutions and generate accurate quotes, and developing customer-facing materials, including product brochures, specification sheets, clinical case studies, and ROI calculators. Gramfield's sales model involves both direct sales representatives and independent manufacturers representatives, reps. Independent reps typically carry multiple product lines from different manufacturers and allocate their selling time based on which products offer the best commission opportunity and the easiest path to closing deals. The PM must ensure that Graham Field products are well positioned to win independent rep mindshare by providing compelling sales tools, competitive compensation programs, and responsive technical support. The PM should also ride along with sales representatives periodically, visiting customer sites, attending dealer meetings, and observing product demonstrations to gather firsthand market intelligence and to identify gaps in the sales team's product knowledge or selling approach. Graham Field's digital presence includes the corporate website, grahamfield.com, the e-commerce platform, shop.grahamfield.com, the community blog, community.grahamfield.com, the marketing blog, gograhamfield.com, and active social media profiles including LinkedIn. The PM is responsible for ensuring that product information across all digital channels is accurate, complete, compelling, and consistent with regulatory labeling requirements. The e-commerce platform at shop.grahamfield.com serves as both a direct ordering channel and a product information resource for customers who may ultimately purchase through a distributor. The PM must ensure that each product listing includes accurate specifications and dimensions, high-quality product photography from multiple angles, complete accessory and compatible product cross-references, HCPCS code information where applicable, warranty terms and clear weight capacity and intended use statements. The website technology stack, WordPress with Cloudflare, CDN, Cadence WP, blocks for page construction, and MailChimp for email marketing, provides a moderately flexible content management environment. The PM should collaborate with the marketing team and the IT department to ensure that product pages are optimized for search engine visibility, SEO, that product comparison tools help customers navigate the extensive catalog, and that the online experience reflects the same quality and reliability that the physical products deliver. Digital analytics, Google Analytics or similar, should be monitored to understand which product pages receive the most traffic, which have the highest bounce rates, indicating confusing or insufficient information, and which generate the most quote requests or online orders. Customer service and technical support at Graham Field form a critical loop in the product management cycle. The customer service team handles inquiries about product availability, order status, pricing, and general product questions, while technical support addresses product-specific issues including assembly questions, troubleshooting, repair guidance, and warranty claims. The PM must establish a feedback mechanism that ensures product-relevant insights from customer service interactions are captured and routed to the product management function. Common customer service themes that have product management implications include assembly confusion, indicating that instructions for use need improvement, feature questions, suggesting that marketing materials inadequately communicate product capabilities, compatibility questions, indicating a need for clear accessory cross-reference documentation, and pricing disputes, which may reveal channel conflict or inconsistent pricing across distributors. Technical support interactions are even more directly actionable. Recurring troubleshooting calls for the same issue on a specific product indicate a design deficiency or a manufacturing quality escape that requires investigation. Warranty claim data, specifically the nature of the failure, the time to failure, and the product's usage environment, provides essential input for design improvement and quality improvement initiatives. The PM should meet regularly with the customer service and technical support team leads to review trending issues, and should participate in the root cause analysis for any issue that reaches the CAPA threshold defined in the quality management system.